Heidi ho everyone, my name is Mr. Fruit and thank you so much for 1 million subscribers. To celebrate, I thought I'd do a video that's a bit more personal so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better. To do so though, that means you need to hear about Christian. It's my real name, not some split personality, just speaking in third person. Anywho, let's begin. It all started when I was born in a little city nobody has ever heard of called Las Vegas. Lights, camera, baby fruit. It was here that my journey began. I was a chubby old baby. Seriously, I packed in that baby fat and I made it work. Not only that, but my mom always liked to remind me of how I started to do the splits before I started walking. My father was a junior Olympist, so perhaps it could have run in the family, but nevertheless, I would perform a full split and then just tumble around rather than walk. I mean, walking is pretty overrated at that age. I also like to eat. A lot. So I guess some things never change. My parents are Papa Fruit and Mama Fruit. Papa Fruit is a strong man with a chiseled butt chin. Seriously, he used to be a bodybuilder and he was massive. He's incredibly hardworking and I'd like to think I picked up my work ethic from him. My mother was a southern girl born and raised in the heart of Georgia, whose accent used to be thicker than molasses. I imagine that's how it would have sounded coming from her. She's got a big open heart for anyone in her life. At the time, I was the fourth son of the family. A year and a half later, and the Fruit family would welcome the last son to the gang to make up a total of 5 boys. My 3 older brothers are all half-brothers, but we've never gone about treating it like that. Their family, and I have to say, we're all incredibly different people. I lived and grew up in Las Vegas for 5 years, and I'll admit I remember very little from that time in my life. Which I think is pretty understandable. After 5 years, our family packed up and went to live on the other side of the country, in Jacksonville, Florida, closer to my mama's family in Georgia. Now, having since moved from there and grown to appreciate and experience different climates, I have no idea how I didn't just keel over and melt away on the hot pavements. The humidity there is insane. And I guess I was just so young I never paid any attention to it, but oh man, you walk out of an air-conditioned house and there is a physical wall of moisture waiting to soak you right up. That's beside the point though. Florida was where my dad began to shape and form his company he now runs today, while my mother has always been on and off with teaching and helping out with us. For me, it was there where my love for video games began. Pokemon had already come into my life in Las Vegas, but it consumed me while I lived in Florida. From playing the original blue and red version on the original Game Boy, to Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy Color, so on and so forth. Not only that, but I made a lot of great friends while I was there. One of them being my childhood friend who, for the sake of anonymity, is that how you even say it? I don't know. I'll just call Jimbo. Jimbo loved all the games I did, and usually got all the cool ones before myself as well. So a lot of my time was spent at his house, nerding out every little thing possible. Which, don't be fooled, a lot of time was spent outside with the cul-de-sac kids playing football or baseball. But seeing as my career in sports never quite kicked off, it makes more sense to focus on video games. One of my earlier birthdays, I'd saved up all the money I'd received and went to go buy myself a Nintendo 64 and Super Smash Bros. That was a game changer. I'd played on all the older consoles, but this was the first one I owned. I'll never forget picking Ness and pitting my brother into a corner while endlessly PK Fire! Much to his dismay. As time passed, eventually Jimbo got a GameCube, and then it was Super Smash Bros. Melee. I was a Nintendo fanboy to the day I die, since I had never really played with anything else, and I knew that Pokemon was Nintendo, so that's all that mattered. Apart from that, it was when I started kindergarten, and we lived there until halfway through my 4th grade year. I was a loud and rambunctious kid who usually tried to hold center stage wherever I was. I was the class clown and incredibly outgoing. And evidently, I was pretty right too. I don't mean to toot my own horn. One of my teachers pulled aside my mom one day to let her know that she was thinking about getting me tested to go into a gifted program, which is essentially a separate group of kids who are the same age, but faster at processing and learning new things. My mom had told me about it before I took the test, and asked the important questions like, will my friends be there? And do I have to do more work? Once young Fruit realized he'd have to leave his friends and work harder, his plan was set in motion. In typical Fruit form, I bombed the test purposefully. The written portion, I apparently passed all metrics by a mile, but the oral exam was where I faltered. I would give answers I knew were wrong in the hopes of not getting accepted into the program, and it worked. So huzzah! Reunited with friends and more time for video games meant I was a happy little Fruit. Well, not too long after, and my little heart sank, as my parents informed us we were moving across country to Colorado. Everything I knew and loved at that point in my life was all in Florida. My brothers and I all had a hard time with the move. I said goodbye to Jimbo and everyone else, and off we went to the Midwest. I can't tell you what it was exactly, but something about that move changed me forever. It's hard to say if it was just the natural way I would have grown up as I matured, but I think the circumstances had some play. I was in a new place with no friends, and everything just felt colder, both literally and figuratively. I had never seen so much snow at all in my life before, actually, and now there was a couple feet of it piled alongside every roadway. Almost immediately, I ended up meeting someone whom I'm still lucky enough to call my best friend today. We'll call him Jim Bob, because ironically enough, he had the same name as Jimbo from Florida. Jim Bob liked a lot of the same stuff I did, one of those being Pokemon, and immediately that was enough to spark our friendship. While I maintained some friendships during my elementary years, they were fewer and farther between, and I wasn't as comfortable being out there as I was before. Jim Bob and I mainly stayed inside when we could and played any game we could get our hands on. It was in part of this new move, the new climate, and the new circumstances that I think I began to spend more and more time indoors. Naturally, that soon equated to more video games. We'd received a family PlayStation 2 rather, as a Christmas gift in Florida and brought it along with us, and I put in plenty of hours on that bad boy. Star Wars Battlefront was my jam. It's also important to note that I really loved Pokemon, so much so that one day when Jim Bob was over at my house, we were going through my Pokemon card collection when we realized we never truly learned how to play the game. We just thought the cards were cool. It was at this point we looked online and realized there was this entire competitive Pokemon card game scene, and some of the events happened near us. We both took to the game really fast, and we both developed a love for it. So much so that I began competing in the tournaments come a few months after. I went around to these various events state to state and competed for 2 years, from 6th to 8th grade. Along the way, I became the #1 rated Colorado senior player, which was the age bracket I was in, and eventually made it become the 7th highest rated senior in North America. I played in the World Championship, I got placed 12th, and then the second World Championship I got invited to. Regrettably, I didn't attend because it was my first week of freshman year of high school, and I didn't want to miss it. Probably one of my biggest regrets to the day. I didn't miss anything. Anyway, I loved the competition and the strategy and all the friends I made along the way. It was the highlight of my younger years. However, around the same time, there were some of, if not the worst years of my life. 7th grade is a very dark period in my timeline, so much so that I think my mind has blocked out and forgotten most of that time in my life. It was another transition since I was now in middle school, and throughout the entire 7th grade year, I retained my one friend, Jim Bob. It wouldn't be for another few years until I realized what was wrong with me, because for so long I woke up every day and kept asking myself, why do I feel like this? Why do I not want to do anything? Why am I so pathetic? And why is everyone else able to be so happy and I can't? I was reclusive and shy. I would just hold my head low and go through the motions. I remember pretending to cut my wrists in class just to try and get attention from someone. Anyone. These were the only times thoughts of self-harm and suicide had come to my mind, and I'm forever thankful to my younger self for never carrying anything out, because the thought of doing something like that to my family and friends still makes my stomach turn today. The thing I kept wrestling with and was so upset with myself about was why I felt like this. I have a loving family, my father works tirelessly to give us everything we need and more. My mother is one of the warmest souls, if not the warmest, you could meet on this earth. My brothers, while they could get on my nerves, were always there and we always did things together. I didn't have some huge gaping hole in my life that would explain why I felt like this, because comparatively, I was living a blessed life. The worst part too was that no one ever knew what was going on. I just got really good at internalizing and saving face to ensure no one really saw behind my fake smile. Days blended together and everything seemed to lose its meaning. It's like I was living my entire life on mute. 7th grade finally ended, and I don't think I've ever felt more of a relief in my life. 8th grade was going to be at a different school, and without me realizing it, a fresh start was just what I needed. 8th grade, I became a little more comfortable with myself and made more friends while enjoying the company of others, but that gray cloud that haunted me in 7th grade never left. It was with me the whole time. It's just that I had found ways to suppress it as much as I could. I can't tell you how bad of an idea it is to suppress something like that. It wouldn't be until my sophomore year of high school where inevitably things came to a boiling point. It was at this point that I finally realized why everything seemed so off to me, why very few things made me happy, and why I cared for so little all the time. Depression. It was a word I wasn't too familiar with. I didn't realize that my own worst enemy could be myself. Nothing is worse than trying to fight your own mind when it comes to living out a normal daily life. More specifically, I eventually learned it's hereditary depression and had to come to terms with the fact that this feeling I have is never just going to go away. There's various cases of depression or sad spells where people encounter where you can apply the usual phrase of, "there's a light at the end of the tunnel." But for me, that's not the case. For me, I'll always be stuck in that tunnel unless I educate and learn to handle it better. I'm never going to be 100%, and that was a really hard pill to swallow. To this day, I've only told a handful of people that I deal with depression because, much like 7th grade, I've made myself someone who's not prone to opening themselves up to weaknesses. I didn't want people to know I have depression and to look at me differently or pity me. I just wanted to try and pretend it wasn't there. However, I now realize that I'm in a position to spread awareness, and I've learned ways to handle it better. There's a common misconception with depression that it's all in somebody's mind, but the thing about depression is it's physical. My body just doesn't produce nearly enough serotonin, and that's a large factor as to why I battle with this every day. Nothing irks me more than hearing someone say that so-and-so just needs to get over it. Because trust me, I wish it were that easy. Due to my depression, like I mentioned previously, I started to spend a lot more time indoors. Thus was the birth of my Halo 3 career and everything you see today. It's because of my circumstances that I am who I am today, and I'm no longer ashamed of who that person is. I found ways to combat the sadness the best I can, and look out for signs that I'm getting overwhelmed before it becomes a major boiling point again. For me, I found that talking to someone helps. I go to therapy, and I don't feel like any less of a human being for doing so. I've tried medicine, but so far I haven't found one that works for me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work for everyone. Everyone is different in how they deal with problems like this, and that's why I wanted to take this time to tell you, or someone you know, to look for help. If you think you know someone going through something like depression, just letting them know that you're there for them can mean a lot. So while I was struggling to figure out who I was, one thing was always certain: I loved video games. Video games continue to be one of the only things I can truly get excited and happy about. They've always been there for me, and they've always acted as an escape more than anything. When I'm zoned in and playing a video game, nothing else at that moment matters, so I would bury my head into Halo, then Call of Duty, so on and so forth. The 360 became my stomping ground for years until the next generation of consoles, where I ultimately made the choice to switch to PS4. The main reason was I knew Destiny was receiving PlayStation exclusive content, and I could not wait to see what Bungie, the creators behind my beloved Halo, were up to next. I'd actually started making YouTube videos under my previous alias, A Bowl of Fruit. It was nothing more than a hobby at the time, and I would make 1 or 2 videos a week if I felt like it. It was extremely casual, but I loved it. It never took off, but I continued to post for about 2 years. I'd originally been inspired by the likes of the Machinima Respawn crew, being Nanners, Hutch, and Sark. The entirety of the Call of Duty gaming community felt like home to me for years, and so I would work doing basic data entry while having all their commentaries on in the background, so I could save enough money to buy some equipment to try my hand at it. Fast forward to my freshman year of college, after I'd tried YouTube on and off again, I was sitting in the dorm with more free time than usual. Side note, majority of my freshman year was nothing but League of Legends, and I decided to try some videos again after watching the likes of Markiplier and others and getting reinvigorated. I wanted to do something creative again. It was here that this channel and Mr. Fruit was officially born. I posted a video every day for 30 days before I ultimately burned myself out. I jumped the gun a little bit, but oddly enough, I had been in a really big slump in life with college since I had no idea what I wanted to do with myself, and so depression had continued to get the better of me. Those 30 days of video making, though, changed something in me, and at the end of it, things were looking up despite me not making videos. The summer between freshman and sophomore year of college was when my girlfriend and I started dating, and also when I became rather ill. It certainly felt deathly ill to me at the time, though. Just, want to put that out there. I not only had mono, but a few other things tackled on top, and I was almost at the point where I was going to have to pause college to take a semester off to rest. I pushed forward through, well, more like crawled forward, and made it to the fall semester of 2014, or as I now know it, D-Day, short for Destiny Day. Destiny came out on September 9th, 2014, and little did I know those $60 would change my life forever. I played Destiny with friends I had known from before, mainly Robbie, whom you're all very familiar with now, and it wasn't until November that I finally decided to give YouTube another go. At that point, I had been sitting around sick for months and been doing nothing productive with my life because it felt like there was very little to be productive with. I began to witness one of my good friends from years prior, whom you all know as Arios, finally start to see some significant growth on YouTube, and he'd been doing it for years on end. Seriously, that man is insanely dedicated, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been pushed to start my channel again. so I began posting again until I eventually decided to make a video on Destiny. I mean, it only made sense, it's what I spent about 90% of my time playing anyway. The video caught a little footing, and so I continued to post them until one fateful day, I hit the front page of the Destiny subreddit. I still remember my friend calling me on a road trip because I was with my family, and he was trying to tell me my videos had 40,000 views in between all the excited panting, and it felt like a dream. 40,000 people? It was unreal, and most notably, the growth hasn't stopped since, and I'm forever grateful. As many of you know, after one semester into my junior year of college, I ultimately decided that my time is best spent full-time on YouTube, since college just wasn't for me in the first place, and I finally felt I had a purpose, and that was to make people laugh and forget. I'm lucky enough to be doing what others did for me when I was in middle school and high school. I used to listen and watch YouTubers and use them as an escape, and now I receive messages that I do the same for people going through depression or a number of other things, and it couldn't fill me with more happiness even if it tried. The truth is that you guys do just as much for me as you say I do for you. Being able to make these videos is still an escape to me, and I love what I do. When I say I want to remind people to laugh and have fun with games and friends, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't also reminding myself. So to sum it all up, take that, Mom and Dad, when you said I played too many video games. Also, I love you a lot, and thanks for supporting me. So if you didn't catch the drift, I'm very thankful to be where I am. Thank you guys so much for giving me this kind of platform. And I know a bit more of a serious video for sure. Kind of hard to make. Like I said, I haven't told a whole bunch of people that, but I wanted to make light, make it known. And I know there's a specifically mental health kind of stuff, something like depression. There is a lot of taboo, a lot of confusion with some people. Some people think, like I mentioned, that it's a placebo thing, like people just need to be happier. And so I just want to say it can happen to anybody, as we've seen a lot with celebrities. And it tends to be that a lot of people that suffer from sadness like to use comedy and laughing as a way to, either hide behind it or counteract it. And I'm certainly one of those people. I have turned to comedy and that kind of stuff because, honestly, I have enough of the rest of that stuff in my life already, like you can already imagine. There's plenty of time to be sad, so I like to try and focus my YouTube especially. That's why I started it. With the whole goal was for it to be lighter, funnier, that kind of stuff. But I did want to thank you all so much for watching this video. And I do have the 1 million shirt to finally announce. I know it's been a little while. This video was delayed, but this 1 million t-shirt will be going for 2 weeks. It's going to be limited run. I'll show it to you in a second. It's going to be going to charity, which is going to be awesome. So without further ado, let me show you the shirt real quick. Well, the revised version won't have this line right there, but point is, gold foil of my new logo, as you probably start to see it crop up here for the channel. So going to be gold foil edition of this. Won't ever do gold foil again. I've never even done gold foil, so you know it's special. So for 1 million subscribers, doing the gold foil logo t-shirt, and all proceeds, so all the profits I get from this t-shirt will be going to charity. I will take screenshots and stuff, and I'll be making a post, and I'll probably also be highlighting it in a video after the campaign's finished, showing how much we raised and how much we were able to donate to the charity. So you might be wondering, okay, well, what charity? I'm glad you asked. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Now, I know, obviously, I wanted to do something more specifically that I talked about, and we talked about depression. And a big part of depression is when people don't have enough awareness about it, or it gets out of hand, they don't have anybody to talk to. Things can get to a point where nobody wants it to get to. And because of that, I think it's going to be a great cause that we can hopefully raise money. And like they said, I'll just read their like one sentence mission statement so that you all know what their main goal is. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention raises awareness, funds scientific research, and provides resources and aid to those affected by suicide. So it's not just completely suicide, it's about giving assistance to those that may be on the brink of it or thinking about it or affected by somebody who has. So just the whole general circle. I think it's a good cause. They've been known to be very transparent and stuff, so it's going to the right cause. And that's where all the proceeds for this t-shirt will be going. Now, the t-shirt campaign store itself doesn't reflect that. Like some t-shirt things you can see, like you can see it's directly going to one of them, but we're going with a new t-shirt company this time, designed by humans, and they're not partnered with the AFSP, and so for that reason, again, I'm going to be completely transparent because I don't want any confusion. Again, I'm not taking any of this money. I want to make sure that all the money I get goes straight to the foundation with one big donation from all of us to them. So if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, link will be down in the description. There's probably a link somewhere around here too. You can go to see the campaign. The t-shirt is going to be for $24, and there are kid sizes now thanks to the Design by Humans. So we have kid sizes as well as regular sizes. Get yours while you can. And thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it was a nice way to round out 1 million. You got to learn a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to reading the comments and seeing what you all have to say, some of your stories and stuff. So with that said, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I'll talk to you in the next one. Farewell.